Few films have had the enduring impact that 1942's Casablanca had then and still has now. The movie, filmed and set during World War II, tells the story of a nightclub owner in Morocco who comes face to face with a former love and her resistance leader husband and has to decide whether or even how to help one or both of them escape the Nazis.
Louis, whatever gave you the impression that I might be interested in helping Laszlo escape?
Because, my dear Ricky, I suspect that under that cynical shell, you're at heart a sentimentalist. Oh, laugh if you will, but I happen to be familiar with your record. Let me point out just 2 items. In 1935, you ran guns to Ethiopia. In 1936, you fought in Spain on the loyalist side.
And got well paid for it on both occasions.
The winning side would have paid you much better.
Maybe.
Humphrey Bogart and Claude Rains there in Casablanca. The film was a romance, a melodrama, a spy film, and more all rolled into one. It was also deeply personal for the people who made it, many of whom were war exiles and refugees themselves. And it's a personal one to this day for Houston area film critic Joe Leydon, who's hosting a memorial screening of it in tribute to his late wife, Anne, on August 27th at River Oaks Theater. Joe Leydon, welcome back to Houston Matters. Good morning.
Very happy to be here. And Craig, breathes there a man with a soul so dead that never once to himself has said, "Here's looking at you, kid."
Yeah. Do you remember the first time you saw Casablanca?
There was a time in New Orleans, my hometown, there was a UHF station, and they got a package of Warner Brothers films, and they would play them like 24/7. And I saw a listing for Casablanca, and I saw Claude Rains. He was in Phantom of the Opera. Peter Lorre. Oh, yeah, he was in The Raven. I'll turn it on.
Yeah.
And I thought it might be a monster movie or something.
In a way, it kind of was.
Yeah. I was young and naive.
Right.
And I saw it, and I immediately fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And so when Anne and I started dating back during the Peloponnesian War, it was on the bill at a revival house in New Orleans, the Britannia Theater, like the River Oaks Theater here. And I brought her along. It was the first time either one of us had seen it on the big screen.
Yeah.
And, of course, it immediately became our favorite movie. I mean, up until, her last days, we would still, I'm shocked to hear there's gambling here. And, and of course, people are, Rick, you've got to help me, Rick.
There are so many moments in that film, so many just visceral moments. But here's the thing. I'm also tacitly aware there are people listening to us right now who have never seen this film.
Well, as my mentor, Tom Bell at Loyola University once warned me, when you're writing a review, remember, there are some people who don't know how Hamlet ends.
Right.
So, I'm always, now...
Spoiler alert, not well.
Yeah. Well, the film critic and historian David Thompson wrote a book some years ago called Suspects. And it's a collection of short stories figuring out what happened to famous movie characters after the movie. And in his version of the universe, Rick and Captain Renault...
Who we heard in that clip earlier.
Right, Claude Rains, who John Simon once referred to as the greatest supporting actor performance of all time in Casablanca. But Rick and Captain Renault became very close.
Well, we all wondered. They walked into the fog together,
Yeah.
beginning of a beautiful friendship that could have been more.
But Ilsa,
Yeah.
Ingrid Bergman's character, she went off to the United States. Her activist husband passed away. She became a secretary for Doug Hammarskjöld. I'm mispronouncing that name, at the United Nations, and she was with him when his plane crashed.
Okay, so this is all very interesting, but not actually in the movie.
No. If you've ever wondered, I don't buy that at all.
It's interesting, though, the idea that this movie has taken such a hold on so many people through so many generations. People do muse about this. What would have happened to these characters?
And there have been so many, and I'm not talking about, the two unfortunate but deservedly short-lived TV series versions of Casablanca. There's so many movies, if you watch them, you go, this is Casablanca. They're setting us up.
Sure.
Robert Redford in Havana It's a great movie, but it's also
It's
Casablanca.
just Casablanca. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think this now 84-year-old movie remains a favorite for so many people?
Well, as you say, put this in context. There was a very anti-interventionist movement in this country before Pearl Harbor. There were a lot of people, Charles Lindbergh, didn't want us to get involved in that European code word, pro-Jewish war.
Right.
And there was even a congressional investigation into movies that they thought were trying to push us into the war, like 1939's, Confessions of a Nazi Spy, which was kind of, obvious what side of the fence, they were on. So I'm ashamed to admit how many times I watched Casablanca before I realized in the first scene where we see Rick and his, functionary comes by and says, you need to sign this. And he signs it. If you look very carefully in the upper, I think, left-hand corner, it's only a few days before Pearl Harbor.
Right. This is set just before Pearl Harbor. And the whole undercurrent theme of all of this, Rick is basically representing the United States. He is representing, should I intervene in this personal situation, just like should the U.S. intervene in World War II?
Actually, that's on target. But I'm saying, actually, it's also Rick finding decency. A sense of honor.
Right.
And it's
right.
almost like
he was shying away from the better nature in his own soul.
It's almost like you put on an old coat and you reach in the pocket and, oh gosh, there's a $10 bill. I didn't know I had that. And in the course of the movie, you see Rick, after he gets over his self-pity.
Yeah.
And look, you'd get drunk too if Ingrid Bergman left you. I mean,
right.
Come on.
Okay. And so let me put that finer point on this. So this movie is about a lost love suddenly showing up, and there is this rekindled fire potential romance between Humphrey Bogart's Rick and Ingrid Bergman's Ilsa, again against this backdrop of war and spycraft. And it culminates in the final, like one of the final scenes in the film, their final scene together at an airport, which is remembered as one of the greatest endings in movie history. Let's listen.
What about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have. We lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. He's looking at you, kid.
And the amazing thing about Casablanca is they were more or less making it up as they went along.
Which is shocking when you realize that they won an Oscar for screenwriting, Best Picture, Best Director, and it was really, they didn't know exactly where this was going or how to end it.
Ingrid Bergman supposedly went to the scriptwriters or the build scriptwriters. There were other people who had a hand in it. But said, who do I wind up with? I got to know how to play this part. And they told her, Ingrid, we don't know yet. We honestly don't know yet.
But here's the thing. Your character doesn't know either, so it should be fine.
She was a method actress, right? What can I say? And you talked before about how people who had fled the Nazi horrors popped up in the film. Well, of course, you have Conrad Veidt, who is Major Strasser. And that was another reason, by the way, I was interested in watching it as a horror movie fan. He played the somnambulist in The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Okay.
And when he, immigrated to the States, for one thing, he had a Jewish wife at one point, so that was a good reason to get out of Germany. He said, okay, I know I'm going to get typecast as a Nazi, but I insist every time I play a Nazi, it's got to be a villain. Yeah. It's got to be the bad guy. And he passed away at a ridiculously early age in his 50s, not too long after Casablanca released. So But it is amazing, as you say. It's like, okay, and there's always been this story that Ronald Reagan was considered for the role of Rick. Now, I've heard people saying, oh, no, that's, an old wives' tale. It was leaked in one of the trade papers at the time. I've heard other editors, oh, no, they were really, but some producer said, no, I don't buy him in the role. Would Casablanca still have the magic if anybody other than Humphrey Bogart?
So. I don't think so. I think there is something about the world weariness of Bogart's face as much as anything else. That he just so matches what this character and what this movie is all about.
And that, again, that's part of the transition, the evolution, whatever you want to call it, in the character. Here is this cynical guy. And, let's face it, there are a lot of people in the States who are cynical about, I don't want to get in that war or whatever. And he realizes, no, I've got to do the right thing. I mean, it's going to hurt me, but I got to do the right thing. And, of course, the war has already started, and, the United States has been involved in it when the movie was released. Yeah. But it is, it is a product of its time, but it's also timeless.
There is something, I will say, very contemporary about the dialogue. It is one of those rare films that is 80-something years old that I watch and I listen to the back and forth between characters, and I think, this is a conversation I could hear somebody today saying. There's something very natural about the way lines are delivered.
And when I taught here at University of Houston for the School of Communications, I would often screen Casablanca for students, and they always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the students, and there's some that are looking at their phone or they're nodding off or whatever. They liked it. And, it does speak to us today, like it's always spoken to us. And in some ways, I think, we don't get it the way people in the 1942 who saw the film. It doesn't have quite the same impact. It's like Gone with the Wind.
Right.
When she says, I will never be hungry again. How did that play with Depression-era audiences?
Right.
But also, as you've said, it's a universal movie. It's a movie we can watch today, we could probably watch 10 years from now, and it would still have that, like you said, the romance. It's a spy thriller. It's a melodrama. But it's also a reminder that, even the most cynical among us can be redeemed. And let's face it, we're all looking for a shot at redemption.
Yeah. For decades, Joe Leydon has written about, reported on, and reviewed movies here in the Houston area. And on August 27th, he is hosting a memorial screening of Casablanca in tribute to his late wife, Anne, days after what would have been their 50th anniversary. My condolences. I'm very glad that you're doing this screening, though. I think this is a wonderful tribute to your wife. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for letting me spread the good word.